Hey, I'm Rachel Davenport. I'm playing Sarah.
Hi, my name is Tony, and I'm costume designer.
Hi, my name is Sequoia Gwen, and I play Anne.
I'm Anthony Michael Stokes, and I play Papa Shakespeare.
Hi, I'm John St. Croix playing the Constable Man.
Hi, I'm Mario Haynes, and I'm playing William Henry Brown.
And we're a part of Titan Theater Company's
The African Company presents Richard III
by Carlyle Brown.
I feel like this is a play that is about actors telling stories at the core. And particularly in 1821, the African Grove Company, they were telling the story about Richard III, and they knew what it was to play parts. They knew what it was to be domestic workers. This is something that Black Americans have had to do throughout their history, and they've had to be uncomfortable. And to what that looks like to sculpt that into art and how that is hitting for that community is a completely different way than it was hitting for white audience members. It's about Shakespeare, it's about the unrest of Black workers during that time, and it's about artists telling stories.
Being able to do something like play a queen or, be a lead in a play was just something that was pretty unheard of. So it's like pretty remarkable, the work that the African Company did.
Yeah, I think it's really, what's important to me is we're basically standing on the shoulders of these performers and these people that really existed. Because they were able to do what they actually did, we're now able to perform the show and give homage to them. If they hadn't come first, we wouldn't be here performing the show based on their lives.
And I think that's the important thing too, is that it is history. These people are real, this did actually happen, and it's important for everybody to understand the role that they have played in the history of this particular show with these particular people and where we are now.
I think it's very important to tell these stories. Not often do we get to see Black people depicted in roles on stage. They're often some stereotype or whatever throughout history, but here we get to show that there are more sides to us.
I think this play is about being seen as people, being seen as actors. Like, I think we all touched on it, but throughout the show, all of the characters' journey is all about wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard and wanting our voices to be out there. Whether it's the Constable or Rachel or Anne or Papa Shakespeare, all of these characters, they just want their voices to be heard. Because these were real people. And honestly, before this show, I had no idea who William Henry Brown or James Hewlett, any of these people were. And as a performer, I kind of cringed at that fact. I never learned about them. And I think that we should be doing this show so others should learn about them. And because they were real people, and this was a real story that it's a part of history that should be told.
They truly paved the way for Black theater. I mean, especially in being in Manhattan around Broadway. I'm not sure if Broadway was a thing back then, but William Henry Brown was the first Black playwright, and that's insane. A Black person writing a play and then getting his own theater and producing it, that was unheard of. It probably inspired countless people, and then today, now it should be told today because we're still in this situation where Black content isn't respected in the same way that other content is, but there's so much that's so special and just as good, if not better, than some of the stuff that is consistently getting or some of the people that are consistently getting nominated for these great awards. And that's why things like the BET Awards, the NAACP Awards, that's our home, and that's our thing that we created, and we get to judge each other and like congratulate each other. And that's what the African Company was.
Yeah.
It was like, forget what the Park Theater is doing down the street. We got this going on, and guess who's coming to see us? Our black friends, Carol, who work for Mrs. Mills over there. She coming, she bringing her kids, stuff like that. And that's really important to reinforce today.
And I also think that it's really important to enforce that these people were geniuses. Like the enslaved people, the domestic workers, they were geniuses. All the ingenuity that they had to have, all the resourcefulness that they had to have, all the different ways they had to think and be creative, and then on top of that, they were spiritual. It's phenomenal. We don't talk about the genius of oppressed black people
And
enough.
they still have to get their work done.
Yes,
too. Like,
exactly.
They are getting off of a full
Yes.
day of work and coming to this theater and doing this show like full on, like. And
Yes.
Which is interesting because like that's still hasn't changed that much.
No.
Like, you know,
Right.
So me
all our
too.
jobs that we do during the day, and then we come, we rehearse and
Yeah.
we put on
Yeah.
this. Something else that I thought was interesting and why it's important today is that many of our characters in the show talk about it, and there's a reason that it's called The African Company Presents Richard III. The connection between Shakespeare and people of color being a part, having the audacity to play these characters that historically were mostly played by white people.
Yeah.
Yes, there are characters that were written to be of people of color, but my character specifically talks about the Moors. There's always the Moor, and so the fact that in 1821 there was this black company that just had the audacity to play these other historical figures. It's interesting. We're playing these historical figures, and they're playing these historical figures.
Oh shoot! I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
And I like to think that what's great about Shakespeare in general is like he is challenging you, saying, "Be better than me." And William Henry Brown met that challenge.
So working with Titan is pretty dope. I really was drawn to the company when I first saw a show. It was what was it? It was Cyrano. It was Cyrano. I think it was Cyrano. And the people in that show were just so talented. It was so beautifully done. Like, I don't see a lot of classical theater. And so when I saw it, I was just like, oh, is this acting? What have I been doing this whole time?
I keep coming back to Titan. This is my 4th show with Titan. Yeah, girl. But it's only been like a year. It's crazy. Anyway, I keep coming back because I'm always stretched. Like my first show was Hamlet, and it was a smaller role, but even in that process, it didn't feel like, oh, I'm in this like little bit role. I was
Yeah.
constantly being stretched and challenged, and like even understudying was always like a big thing that I had never done before. But when I did it, like Titan has pushed me into like a better actor. Going into Tartuffe was like such a crazy experience because it was all female, and again, like someone who's still new to acting, or fairly new to acting, and not really knowing what it's like to kind of carry a show, and then doing this role, which is a crazy challenge and stretch.
It is.
But like I like it's kind of like that painful process of being stretched, but the end result is always so nice because you can look back and say, oh my gosh, I did it. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without the direction of Lenny and Marcus, because Lenny, he's such an amazing director that he like just pushes you to do things that you didn't even think you were capable of doing. And working with Marcus, he's so in tune with who you are as a person and how you connect with that character, and bringing out bringing out Sequoia and finding those similarities from Sequoia and Anne and putting them together. And it's just this like beautiful experience.
This is my first show with Titan, and it's been great. It's been a really great experience. I didn't know what to expect, but I know that I'd known Lenny for years, just from auditions and like theater parties, and I saw their production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, where they draw names out of a hat years ago. And I was like, oh wow, that company is like experimental and fun. And I was like, I would love to work with them one day. So I just sort of trusted that it would happen. And then I saw the, casting for this, and I was like, they got a black director? I haven't had a black director since undergrad. Like, I didn't have a black director in grad school. But it's something I want to do, this project, like the creative team, like administratively, everyone, it just was the right moment for me. And I don't know, I felt like, Anthony, this was your first time too.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like we kind of started to get to know each other through
Absolutely.
our work and doing this too. So
Yeah,
it's a joy in that way also.
Yeah. I lived in New York for like 8 years, and then I moved away to teach and direct, and then I just recently moved back. But when I was here before, I was on a tour, and there was only 4 of us in the cast, and one of the cast members, he was working with Titan at that time. And he would keep talking about them, and he kept talking about Lenny, and he kept just talking about the experience. And I believe at that point they were doing a version of A Christmas Carol. And the more I like researched the company, and the more I would hear, I was like, this company seems like they're really doing some stuff. Like Mario was saying, the experimental, taking the rolls out of the hat. That's cool. And these all women productions. It's just really innovative, and it's what you kind of want theater to be, so you can stretch as an artist. So I was hoping that someday I would get to work with the company. That was just, so as soon as I saw that casting, I was like, oh. That's mine. Take that. Yeah. And it's been an awesome experience. I definitely felt when I came in, I just wanted to make sure that I was at my best. And the cast is so talented. I don't get to work with a lot of, like, because of music theater, I do mostly music theater, I don't get to work with a lot of all black cast for the most part, And so there was kind of an intimidation to that. But I also was like, I want to just do the best I possibly can, and I don't want to let down the company, and I don't want to let down my fellow actors, because they're amazing. They're so fierce. Tristan, who plays...
Stephen Fry.
Tristan's a star.
Scares me to death. And in my scenes, I always have to come in after him. I'm always like, okay, you got to bring it, because he just brought it. And I have to make sure I keep that...
Which speaks to like Titan as a company, because Tristan being like a company member, and it's like everyone is like on this like amazing level, and so you're trying to like get there with them.
Yeah.
Because like when I watch like Tristan's scenes or like any of your scenes, I'm just like, oh, okay, they were great. Let me try and bring it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think so too. Titan, the community that it creates. I've done 3 out of the 4 shows with you, and we've watched each other grow as artists as well, and do new challenges, try new characters, take on new things, and Titan sort of encourages you to do that like no other theater company does. And it's just an amazing thing to be a part of and say you were a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also my first time here at Titan, and I've always been around some of the staff here, and Lenny is great, but I had to jump at the opportunity to do this, because I can always appreciate a theater company that does a black show, and it does invite a black director to do their black show, and fills the cast with black actors. And also some of the design team is black. So that doesn't happen often, that I get to surround myself with other creative black people, and it's very refreshing to do such new, innovative, fresh theater here in New York. I had to say yes, so I'm very glad.